calling to order the Economic Development Advisory Committee. It is 12:26 p.m. So, let's see, do I have my roll call? Okay, so roll call. Cesar Garay. John Villarreal. He's not here, he notified us. Arturo Dominguez.
Here.
Rafael Dueñas. We'll get to that. Julian Martinovsky, present. Georgia Altgeld.
Here.
Elia
Guevara.
I always mess that up, I'm sorry.
Present.
Guevara. Okay.
Guevara.
Guevara, okay.
Present.
Mayra Hernandez.
Present.
And Ray Rocha.
Present.
Okay, so we're on the approval of the minutes. Did everyone have time to review it? If so,
Motion to approve.
we just losing? Second? All those in favor? Aye.
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 Motion carries. So next item is citizen comments. If anyone's here online or in person that's willing to speak, I don't see anyone.
There were no comments
made
submitted online, Mr. Vice Chair, so we would say that there's none. However, before we jump into the action items, I'd like to just go over one of the forms that's in your packet, which is the missed meetings chart. Something we're gonna start doing, keep up, just to keep the members aware that it is 4 absences in a calendar year. After the 4th absence, it's a no questions asked, it's an automatic forfeiture. You're no longer invited to any of the meetings. We've got the copy of the ordinance, so we're using this to keep track.
So how does it work if someone does get booted? Is that a year? You're booted for a year, or can like
It's
be
automatic.
reappointed?
It's an automatic removal of the
No, when
advisory.
he's asking, when can you join another committee, you can, and I think it's up to a year.
What would have to,
Okay.
what would have to happen is or whomever on council would either reappoint you or they would reappoint somebody else.
Well, I don't think you can get reappointed.
That's my question.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you'd be out of the running.
But
No, I get it's automatic forfeiture.
For how long?
I wanna say it's for a
For a
year,
year?
is what
For
the
a
ordinance
year.
says.
Is it a calendar?
Oh, the ordinance says for a year?
Yeah,
You
there's
cannot hold any office or just that committee?
any office. But, we'll provide, a copy of the
can you
ordinance.
look at it?
But yeah, there are, strict rules on that, so after the
Right.
4th, just so the committee knows, it is automatic.
But it's not an absentee if they are.
It's not an absent if you're virtual, you just
These were advisory.
you cannot vote and you can't count towards quorum if you're virtual.
What about?
You cannot vote if you're virtual?
Cannot. You
What?
have to be present.
Why not?
It's in the ordinance?
That's straight from the city secretary's office, yeah. You have to have at least 5 present in the meeting. If you're virtual, you can't vote. Basically, if you're present, you count as towards the quorum.
And so the absences is for a calendar
funny-
year?
'Cause
Or is it?
we would vote during the pandemic online all the time.
They've been changing their reading of that.
Let me look into that.
Okay.
Yeah, and we can
That
forward,
sounds a little funny though.
we can forward
You're
you
not
the email
absent,
from the
you
city
can't vote.
secretary's office.
Oh, it's in writing already?
Well, it's an email from the staff. It says 5 must be present,
To start the meeting, to have the quorum, you have to have the quorum. The extra people that come in are part of the meeting. They should, if they're part of the committee, they should be able to vote. I'm not part of it. I'm just representing city staff. I don't vote. I just come to
Right,
get your feedback and try to massage some of the things that we need to do.
okay.
But I think they should be able to vote. But I'll talk to the secretary.
Okay.
Okay, so on that note, moving on to action items. So discussion and possible action to accept the resignation of Rafael J. Dueñas as a member of the EDAC and the position of chair of the EDAC and any other matters incident thereto. So I move to accept the resignation.
Second with discussion.
Okay.
So what date did he turn in his resignation?
Are you combining your item?
Yeah, you know what, yeah.
So,
if we could
yeah.
call a motion to move up.
Yeah, because there's another.
Item C and F,
We could knock both these out at the same time, yeah.
I second that.
Okay.
He submitted an email and I will get the date.
Hold on, all those in favor? Aye.
I,
Okay, so we've combined A, E, and F.
no.
No, not,
No, just only
F.
E.
A and E only.
A and B.
Oh, okay.
A,
Alright,
yeah.
sorry.
Like channel.
July 20th.
July 20th. And do we know the date he filed his treasurer's report with the city secretary?
We don't know that
We can
offhand.
find out.
Councilman, we can.
Can you, well, you know, then let's, I guess, table the item for right now so we can get through the rest of the agenda and we'll come back to that at the end. Give staff a second to get those questions answered.
Okay, so your motion is
To-
table
to-
it for,
To table to the end of, today's
And
agenda.
yes. And we
Okay.
submitted it to the city secretary's office as well.
And do you, of when he resigned, you
I'll
wanna know
second
when he
that.
filed?
I wanna know he filed his treasurer's report, yeah. And or his application to run, both of those dates.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Yeah, we're just tabling it to the end of the agenda.
Aye.
So the next item is item B, discussion and possible action to nominate and select a new EDAC chair and any other matters incident thereto.
A motion to nominate Julian Rotnowski to be our chair.
Second.
Discussion? I would accept that. But we would then need to appoint a vice chair. Is this only new EDAC chair? So I guess we're gonna have to wait till the
I
next meeting to.
would-
We have to bring it to the next,
We have to bring it to the next meeting.
Okay.
one at a time, going.
Who seconded? Arturo?
All those in favor?
Alright.
Aye.
Aye.
Mayra and Cesar, did you get that, the nomination for Mr. Radnowski to be the new chair of the EDAC committee?
I say everyone vote until we
Yes,
get
I have a
clarification
question.
on that.
We can't vote, and so what's the purpose of being virtual then?
That's,
Uh,
can we just accept those
Just
votes
so you
now
don't-
until we get
just so you don't-
clarification?
Well,
Yes.
Absent?
Well, one, and also so you can participate in discussion should you have something that would be of value to the committee.
But this
But
doesn't
see-
count as an action, Mayra.
But I don't,
Okay, perfect.
I
Now, my
disagree.
next question is, how many people are present on the board?
There's 4 present in person.
Okay, so then we don't have quorum. It has to be 5 people present face to face for there to be quorum, so then the meeting's canceled?
Well, no, you have to have at least more than the majority or at least half of the majority. So you
My
have,
understanding it was 5.
well, you had 9 members. Now you're 8, with the resignation of Rafa, you're down to 8.
Yeah, but that doesn't change the requirements for
Fine.
quorum. Quorum still has to be 5 or more, regardless of whether there's a vacancy or not. And that's why,
George, are we sure about that? Because I know of other things that
I'm
operate.
almost perfectly right, I didn't.
yeah, and I disagree respectfully with Mr. Lozano's interpretation of having to physically be present to vote. I realize staff may have sent that out, but you ask 12 different lawyers the same question, you get 12 different answers. We voted throughout the pandemic from our homes, and there were special amendments to the Texas Open Meetings Act to allow for remote voting. And then I know that the city passed an ordinance saying, look, TOMA doesn't apply to committees, but we're going to adopt the TOMA regs as if though they did. And so the considerations in TOMA to allow for remote voting, I think are in place, because then to Myra's point, well then why bother having them even appear online if they can't vote, and why even have them participate if they can't vote? Because if you look at TOMA says if you don't have a quorum, then you can't even have well, you can have discussion, but you can't vote. So if you don't have a voting member, well then you don't have quorum. So to Myra's point, well then what are we doing here? And that's why I feel confident that we can continue with the meeting, and that Myra and Cesar and everybody else should be able to vote, participate and vote, not just participate.
And I know at one point, I don't know if that was overridden, but advisory committees don't fall under, we're not a board.
It does, and from my understanding, even other advisory committees from other departments, they do, the rules do apply for advisory committees and boards. But we will get better clarification as well from the city secretary's office.
I think if I may, I mean, we've gone around with this one, maybe bring someone from city secretary to give a presentation on, you know.
Okay, but are our motions actually, like, are we actually moving on items?
I would say, I mean, you know, my recommendation would be, I mean,
What was the date he sent that email?
July 20th?
He, um,
He
he
posted,
posted online,
July 18th.
July 18th, the designation of, campaign treasurer.
Oh, that's good.
you have to look at the stat.
Yeah, we gotta look at the stamp. Kinda getting ahead of ourselves.
Okay, so
What
can
do
we
we-
maybe, one of the committee members make a motion to make an exception until we get clarification from city secretary's office to, for this meeting, you know, accept votes from those that are connected online?
Well,
Can that be
we-
put into some sort of
Well,
a
isn't
motion?
isn't chief getting clarification?
He's with someone else on the phone.
Oh.
Is he in the closet?
Oh, it's not a, it's a storage room.
It's,
But,
he's in timeout. He's in timeout.
That's what I was like, I
I'll
heard
get
him,
you,
where'd
I'll
he
get
go?
you an answer.
Give us an answer, brother,
We'll
please.
knock and talk.
Okay, all right. I'll call the city attorney and see what he says.
Yeah, he's in
Is he here? Can we get him? Because I know this is very confusing that they can sit there but they can't vote. That's weird.
Yeah,
That doesn't make sense.
yeah. But I can see under a previous administration, some sort of convoluted legal opinion coming out, just to that effect. Remember when, they said that, your mom couldn't be a committee member? It was total bullshit. That was just a, Carlos Villarreal little disco move so he could stack the deck with people in favor of his position.
Yeah.
No answer. No, sir.
Is there any other item that, is not under,
Oh, that's
goes
more of a
under vote
discussion?
that we can move on? No?
You know,
I
Okay.
think all of them require.
they all require, but we can have discussion right now, right? We don't have to
Yes.
just suddenly, okay, so look, let's not move on the, let's see. Okay, so, we're gonna, I guess, can I motion to table B for the meantime? Or no motions can be entertained and we just discuss?
Well, I mean, if
This is the problem, I feel like we're
if
now.
both Mr. Lozano, and Myra are correct, then we, for different reasons, we don't have a quorum.
We don't have a quorum.
Thank you.
We can vote.
So we can just wait to see what type of, what clarification we get from city manager's
Already
office,
did.
just
Oh,
so that we, yes?
okay,
Oh, okay.
Get the.
We have to have a quorum here
okay.
before we can do anything. Number one,
Does that count as quorum?
no.
Oh.
They have to be added to, they can vote and they can participate, but it starts with this room. This room has to have the quorum and other members can be part of the meeting and they can participate and vote.
But we have to have a quorum, this is where it starts.
Well, but
Oh.
to Arnold's point,
That's correct.
if we're short one, you know, now
Yeah, do
we're
we have
no longer
clarification on
a
that?
committee of 9, now we're a committee of
I
4.
would have to get Zone to give me,
I just
does
tested
it, did you, good. Because we need to find out if the quorum changes because the
Yeah.
total number
this.
has been reduced by 1.
I'm in another board, not a committee, where there are, not all the seats are filled, and they are allowed to move on items, and the quorum is reduced. Meaning, if there's supposed to be 9 members, and there's only 5, quorum's 3.
Oh, okay. Is it in your bylaws though? Because that could change everything.
It may be in the bylaws. I didn't dive into the bylaws, we just got an attorney to let us know.
Okay. One other thing that you all asked for clarification related to, okay. The clarification related to the voting, I just said. The quorum, I just said. The other clarification was, why is my mind?
Oh, the
blank?
the date of
Yes.
Mr. Dueñas.
Okay, you all, this committee is not a decision-making committee, it's an advisory committee. And because you're an advisory committee, Rafael, this is the secretary telling me. The advisory committee, Rafael didn't even have to resign, period, because it's not a final authority before council. You all are bringing your recommendations as a board committee, and it's different than the Planning and Zoning Commission and these other ones that do take action votes. It's different, and that's what he told me. So Rafael, regardless of the date, he's gonna have his staff text me. The date doesn't, according to Joe Valdez, the city secretary, that it's irrelevant.
That doesn't sound wrong, it's not a question of legality, it's ethics.
Yeah.
So he
There's-
pointed us to the ethics,
Right.
he pointed us to there, and I don't have it with us, we
Yeah.
have it online.
And that was kind of the thrust of my question. Yeah, that was the thrust of my question. It wasn't so much about the legality, rather the potential ethical issue of,
He's basically saying that he didn't even have to step down, but he did.
gotcha.
Regardless of at what point, he could have done it right after he filed, he didn't have to leave, but he did it anyway.
Okay. Well, that satisfies my Q&A.
So what are we waiting on at this point? Because I don't think we,
So the question is, can you accept the resignation, number one, as an action item?
I don't think we can do anything.
But
No,
there's
because he already
problem.
left.
No.
We can't do anything.
To Myra's and,
Yes.
and Mr. Lozano's point, we don't have a quorum,
Correct.
and ergo,
We were denied.
We're done.
We were
Never-
denied.
well, the
lunch is over?
No, the meeting
We
never
were
started.
denied. But since now that we're
Okay.
paid.
But
Oh,
if
maybe the
Rafael is
amount-
not counting as a
maybe the
member,
amount.
it doesn't, this 4 of us doesn't represent a quorum already?
It's half of the.
That's what I'm saying.
Oh,
yeah.
That I have been a part of boards where that is,
It's a sliding quorum, basically.
yeah.
But we don't have, unless it's
Because now there's
within the
only-
rules,
Uh-huh,
Right
we
now
can
there's four,
apply that.
exactly, that's why I
It's
said.
not majority.
Am I still the bad guy?
Nah,
No. Okay.
Are we a quorum? If
Chief only had to defend your honor twice.
That's okay.
Okay, what'd you find?
It's more than my wife has done.
All right.
Okay, so what did we find out? Sorry.
If we were a quorum, because now we're 8.
Yes,
It's
that's the
four,
question.
it's
Yeah.
what
four.
constitutes a quorum when you have a resignation? And your number isn't fully, you're not 9.
Okay,
So
so
is it-
we didn't get that answer.
No. Joe didn't, I didn't ask Joe that question. And I don't mind calling him back, but since you said you had a call in the zone, let me call him and see if he picks up.
I got
And
crickets.
see if he loves me.
I got a break.
Yeah.
I think it may be a little
He
different.
takes your call, Zone and I will have some fucking bell. Just saying.
I don't wanna put him in this spot,
Yeah,
Councilman.
he won't.
It is what
It's a choice
it
he
is.
made.
It's his choice.
Yeah.
Has this committee ever considered, or I'm not sure if other advisory committees do this, but adopting and having its own bylaws that we can always refer to?
That's
for
why I
public-
asked about the
We
bylaws.
were actually working on that a little while.
I mean, I know there's bylaws for the entire city, but I'm not sure if that can be
Some
done.
do.
Yeah, because even the animal
by
care
law.
one, even the animal care one, we're gonna adopt, it looks like we're gonna adopt a community development.
Protocol manual.
Okay,
The
because that's the
advisory
first thing,
committee.
when we were working
So
on
we-
the agenda, I asked,
I
are there any
think-
bylaws for this committee, and I
I
don't.
think we should line up all our committees on
It's just not here,
How does that mean quorum?
like not there or.
That's-
here.
They don't count the quorum either. They got- but they
John.
count it as a-
John Getty.
I'm not gonna put zoning on the spot.
That's it.
See, that's what I want to say.
It's okay if you do. I'm not gonna give you too much.
Councilman, question. We had,
You know, we've got-
we had a resignation that
Yes,
occurred
sir.
on
Oh,
this
yeah.
board. So does it change, quorum numbers? Instead of 5, can it be half?
I'm getting a call back. Nice, look at that. Get a call back.
It doesn't change.
Okay,
Dude, you don't know how close our friendship is.
Okay.
Hey, so we're in the Economic Development Advisory Committee. We've lost a member who voluntarily resigned. So the call to the question is, since we're now down to 8, what constitutes a quorum? Does the vacancy create a difference in the number of people needed to make quorum? Yeah, that's that. No, it doesn't. So we don't have quorum. And even if we have people participating online that are committee members,
And we're advisory.
and we're just an advisory committee, does that make quorum? Or do they physically have to be present?
Online, you can make that exception, yeah.
So if they're online,
This is the city attorney.
so this is, if they're online, then that makes quorum. I mean, if we have,
But they're gonna participate, right?
yeah, they're gonna participate in discussion and vote.
So they count.
Okay, all right,
Are we good?
that's all we needed to know, brother, thank you.
They can participate.
It does change practice.
Okay,
It does change practice. What he just ruled on has changed the practice
Yeah.
all the way up.
That's what I'm saying. It was-
But that's it.
yeah, Mom said no, but Dad said yes. Yeah,
Well, you see, we're not making things up.
yeah,
Yeah, I just don't want, I mean, he's our attorney.
He's your-
He made a decision.
See, that's what I'm saying.
What is not?
Yeah.
That's Toma controls, you know, and.
He's telling us and we follow his advice, but it changes practice.
Yep.
It changes
Okay,
practice, so
but
based,
there's the, can we move?
yes, go ahead.
For the sake of time.
Yes, go
Okay.
ahead, go ahead, go ahead.
So back to,
Good question, Mayra, thank you.
yes. So back to discussion of possible action to nominate and select new EDAC chair and any other matters considered here too. I, Julian, was nominated and it was second. Is there any other discussion that would like to be had?
Minor. Be minor.
Mayra, any comments?
None.
All right, so all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Now, matters incident there too could be the issue of vice chair. Because
Correct.
you've now vacated your position as vice chair. Is there anyone that's interested in being, vice chair? I'm not, by the way. Is there anyone that's interested in being vice chair that you can nominate?
I am.
Myra?
Mayra.
Yes.
I would make a motion to nominate Ms. Mayra Hernandez to be vice chair.
I second.
Second.
Any discussion?
Nope.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion
Congratulations.
passes.
Congratulations, Julian, chair. Mayra, congratulations on vice chair.
Drinks on Arturo.
So
Absolutely.
moving to action item number C, discussion of possible action regarding Economic Development Advisory Committee assisting with developing a scorecard, interviewing and recommending a candidate for the Economic Development Director position. This will include the review of the previous scorecard used to hire the previous Economic Development Director and creating a subcommittee if needed to update the scorecard.
Motion.
Well, well, so before we get to a motion, the question is do we have an example of the scorecard that we used previously?
Well,
They should
we
have
don't know what it was used or where
We have no record
find
of
it.
when Becklo was hired,
Before he was hired.
or before he was hired, there were a bunch of documents where we were scoring him. We don't have record.
Rosario might have it.
There is a.
Julian,
Go ahead.
Yes, Maida.
Julian, I was part of that committee and we have all the documentation. Just a draft, I don't have the actual documentation because I think that was a return to city for regular purposes. But I may have the draft that we used when we hired, when we were in a process and they were, with hired.
I recall
This
vividly.
is a copy of one of the scorecards, and it's basically just a list of 9 questions, I guess, that were used for scoring.
So this was for, so there was technically two scorecards. There was one for the interview and one for the ranking. So if you have the one for the ranking, I think that is the more
this is his scorecard.
important one because from what I remember, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, we first ranked in order to create finalists, and then once we created finalists, then we interviewed.
That's correct.
So this one's just as important, but we also need that other scorecard. So if either we can find it, or if Maida, you can dig through your emails, I'll do the same. I couldn't find it, which is why I asked cities, I think I asked,
I think Rosario was the one.
that's who I asked, she said that she's sure she has it, she just needs to look for it.
We'll follow up.
So which one is that one that you have? Is that the?
This is the actual interview.
Interview.
This is, so this is based off questions that
But
we
is this
asked.
the interview, this is Dr. Rodriguez's scoring of the applicants, right?
Yes, but these were the questions we asked we wanted to make sure that we had like a structure where, you know, no one was asked a specific question that like would highlight them versus getting a good basis off everyone
Oh, I
else.
see.
Okay.
So that's why we created these questions.
And then, just so y'all know, after y'all did y'all's work, the finalists, they hosted a little gathering at La Posada.
That's our intent.
And then we used dowsing rods to figure out which of the candidates would be best. And you don't always strike sweet water when you use dowsing rods. Like sometimes you get salt water, but we did the best we could.
Oh, made a good choice.
So, a brief update for you all related to this. We do want you all engaged in this. Ms. Cabello and I did discuss this at length. We want to fill a vacancy soon, but as of this morning, there's 3 applicants that have applied for this particular position. Our goal is to ask you all to come back and give us the top 3, but that's what we have as of today, 3. I don't think that we're ready to close it, because if it was up to that, then you're just gonna look at the 3 and give us in what order.
Well, that's pretty
you
much the
think.
finalists. That's what we did last, no, we didn't have.
Um,
Well, they did
I
a
was
lot of
told-
screening if they met the profile. By the time they got to us, they met the profile, and we just looked at credentials. And then we said, this is our top 10, and then we started scoring differently, and then we introduced.
And the names were left out. That was also very
Yeah,
important.
they left the name.
Hey,
Who made these questions?
I
Yeah.
can't point to who, it was part of the
Who created.
subcommittee that, yeah, well, it was the subcommittee
Did
that
the
did.
subcommittee
Yeah.
that come out with these questions?
can given the wording of the agenda item the way it is, can we add some questions to this?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
We could, and if we're pressed for time, that's why
Well, I got 2 real quick. Like, do they have any? So I would make a motion that we adopt these questions as is, and that we add to these questions. Does the applicant have any meaningful experience revitalizing a downtown or an inner city, and or an inner city? And so that'll be one question, and the other question is, does the applicant have any meaningful experience in creating incentives for mixed market housing and mixed use projects that also incorporate housing and tax incentives? Were you able to get all that?
It's recorded.
What about the certification?
I have a question for city staff.
That was.
Yeah.
Where has
that was
this
on the
position
other
been
score.
advertised? It has it
Okay,
been on
the
our
language,
website
the
or else?
It's
bilingual.
been advertised on our website, and yesterday, actually, we got contacted by HR asking for all the different associations that our department belongs to that are within the economic development industry, and they are looking at posting the position in some of those industries as well.
So,
Not industries, entities.
Can I ask a
So
question?
we're not ready, in other words, let's let it simmer a little while longer to see what response we get from these other publications.
But does it have a date, the deadline for that?
It's open, right?
Yeah, but it doesn't have a deadline, because sometimes they
They wait.
leave because they said, oh, pues,
So you recommend we do something time certain, or what?
well, that would help the applicant not to
To
look for
move?
somewhere else.
Yeah, so
And I'm
last
sorry, I
time-
think there's a motion on the
Oh,
table.
yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, I did, my motion
Oh,
was
that's
to
right.
add those 2 questions.
I second it.
Okay.
Don't limit yourself to that, though.
Right, yeah, if there's other questions, please y'all chime in. We can bite off on a question at a time.
So discussion, all those in favor? Aye.
Hi.
Aye.
None against? Motion carries.
So that any other questions to add, that we should
So-
add to these questions?
So we're not discussing the questions that are gonna be asked, correct, or we are? Essentially, our meeting is being recorded?
Meeting is being recorded.
Yes. So any applicant could potentially listen to the questions we're going to be asking. And for turn advance, is that what we're looking for?
So that's what I was gonna, Maida, you have a very good point, that's my concern. That's why what I think is best that we do when it comes to making changes to these scorecards
Use him as
What?
your funnel, sorry.
is to create the subcommittee, so that that can be its own meeting, it doesn't have to be recorded, and all those things can be discussed. That's how we did it last time.
Oh, I see, Maida.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
Okay,
And if it belong here, does it belong in the other scorecard, his question?
Well, yeah, because usually in the resume you can list all that, okay, here, let's stop discussing that. And so, who would like to, if everyone's in agreement with that, who would like to volunteer for the subcommittee? It can be up to 4 people, correct? Since we're going by the,
Odd numbers.
I can volunteer.
oh, it has to be.
Well, if you all wanna vote,
It's coming.
Me too.
You
Okay,
wanna
we
be
need
on it?
5
Yes.
volunteers.
I don't mind.
2, you said 5?
I
We
would
can't
like
have-
to, Myra.
Oh, 3?
Mayra, and,
Mr. Rocha.
is Rocha?
Yes.
Yeah, that's 4, we're good with,
But why
no,
did
but
we-
it can't be 5,
why
because
did
then
we
we,
have
it's
It's a quorum.
Why
quorum.
did we have 4 in the other? That's what I'm asking. We had
Because-
4 when we had 9 people. Were we having 4 because
Yeah,
we
because
couldn't
we
have
can't
a
have a
quorum?
quorum. That's why we're 4.
Well, quorum doesn't change, right?
That's what they said.
And by the time I put zone on speaker, I don't know if I did that in time, but, that doesn't, because we lost one, quorum is still
So you
5.
still need 5.
But because we're advisory, we can have, as long as they're participating online, they can.
Yes.
That was the second part of the conference, but yes.
Yes.
So we need at least 4.
Yes.
No more
I'm
than
sorry,
4.
I'm
No
sorry,
more than
maximum 4.
Well, that's 4. If everyone's okay with that, I'm willing to turn that into a motion.
Then we got 4.
Okay, so, motion to make Mayra, Ray, Arturo, and George part of the subcommittee to update both scorecards, to score the participants, and then create the questions.
I thought we would score the participants as a group.
I'm talking about just the scorecards,
Just
to
the
create
scorecards. Oh, okay,
the
yes,
scorecards
The
that do
selection of the
those.
participants
yes.
is for the whole company.
So that's my motion.
Second.
Third.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries.
What else is there though? Was there anything else that we needed to?
Well-
Oh, yeah, so I don't think we should set a time certain. Because we need a little time to get together, refine these questions, and then, I'm not sure if you made the point or who made the point, but to throw a wider casting net, and that way we have a meaningful, selection of, applicants.
I agree, I am concerned because I remember, so were you part of the last? So, okay.
I mean, at the council.
We lost apparently 2 very qualified individuals because of the time issue.
Oh.
Where they ended up, one got hired and one retracted specifically because we extended the deadline.
Do we even have a deadline in place?
We had a deadline last
Alright,
time.
So we don't have a deadline.
This time we don't.
So let's at least get these questions done. Throw it out there to the different, economic development, headhunting house, clearing houses, and see what we can catch in the net.
Yep.
And at least
30 more days.
30 more days at a minimum.
Because they can get hired elsewhere. Because, it's not defined what the date is, or at least I know if I get the job, I'll know by this date that I'm gonna have.
So you're saying we should at least set a date in the future?
In the future, just so they know that that day is when they're gonna make a decision. And so in the meantime, I don't have to be looking for another job, because I look for another job, I might end up getting the worst job that I can get.
Maybe that can be part of the recommendations that the subcommittee can make along with the set of questions and criteria that we put together. That's a recommendation.
Yes, and I'd like staff to give us some perspective on what they believe that timing should be, because that's just my concern, is we have people that apply, and then, you know, like, for sure, what I don't wanna see happening is us extending it and then re-extending it, like, I think
I'd
we
like
need
to have a full-time director by October 1.
Okay, so,
I'd like to.
and that means
6
that we
weeks
need to
away.
interview,
Yeah, okay.
I'd
score,
like to.
and,
And hire.
So the, motion to have select an applicant by October 1.
One more point
Do
of,
we wanna do that?
well,
Do we wanna tire? do we
can
wanna-
you retract that so I can combine D with, because that's essentially item D.
Okay, I can
So,
withdraw.
I want to give you some important information, okay? The only one according to charter that can hire a person is the city manager, a director level person. So I was under the impression, and you all were here before, Myra was here before part of that for sure, because she just said it. You all gave the top 3 to Robert Eads to pick. Is that what happened? The top 3?
They are top candidate, and of course, the person that the committee was highly recommended.
we ranked them. We said, this is our first, this is our second, this is our third.
Okay. So I was told by the city manager that I'm gonna ask you for the same thing, for you to rank them in order, but the final decision comes from the manager. Of course, whatever I would recommend as well, being that I'm gonna work directly with that person as one of my directors. But we don't want the public to say that the committee's doing the city manager's job. You all are recommending and scoring, but keep in mind that you're the only committee that even looks at any of the directors. You know what I'm saying? So we
That's
don't-
my expectation. That was my expectation, that we would basically be giving the recommendations.
Yeah, we would help sift through the wheat and the chaff so that you give them top 3 recommendations, and then management can do its due diligence and at least have some sort of data to support a recommendation or not, right?
Correct.
And we know this, he's the last call. We're just saying, instead of him doing everything that we did, we're telling him this is the best thing.
And Rosario and I feel that you all are key. That person's gonna work directly with you all and with me and with this team, and the power of the manager cannot be really given away, that's all I'm saying.
Chemistry has to be.
So if I may, I motion to combine C and item D, which is discussion with possible action regarding the scheduling dates, times for interviewing the candidates for the position of economic development director. So that was a second
So moved, yeah.
discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. So if you'd like to make a motion on the time, now you can do it and we can just have it all wrapped up.
Motion to have a recommendation, scoring and recommendation and criteria. Hold on. Motion to have the scoring and recommendation deadline of October 1 as per staff's recommendation.
No, you want to select someone by October.
I would like, that's ideal.
Okay.
In a perfect world, if we could do it, we'd like to have that person selected by, that.
So then
to
you would
start
want
with.
our recommendation in advance of October 1.
By September 15th.
See, but we only have 3 at this point, and so,
Yeah, it's an omnibus
see,
day.
that's the issue.
Yeah.
We only have 3 at this point, so that's the issue. So do we want to,
Do we already have a city manager?
I'm sorry?
She has to.
Do we already have a city manager?
No, we don't.
So the city manager vacancy is still there, who does the final selection?
The interim city manager, Ms. Cabello.
Is there a reason why we want to rush to the first?
I just would like to fill all the directors that are under me. I'd like to have some stability. It's been a very unstable situation lately. And it doesn't look good for the business community to look at an unstable government.
And economic development needs to keep going, because we wouldn't, I mean, we may not have a city manager realistically until sometime after the elections in November. And then even then, that selection process, I mean,
Take a while.
that could take a while too. I mean, I agree, Myra, we don't wanna rush, but at the same time, we can't just leave departments without any meaningful, leadership.
Especially something like economic development.
It's
which
such a key, that
is
we fought
really
so hard
important.
for. I mean, we baked it into the comp plan back in the day, then we finally got, you know, a department head and a department. Yeah,
All present, all present.
yeah, the show must go on.
But maybe somebody else also feels like Myra that we should just wait longer. What are you thinking, waiting till a new city manager comes? Can I ask that?
Go right ahead.
It's not necessary. I think it was the October 1st deadline, considering that by the time we review the questions, allowed for at least another 2 weeks, perhaps, no more than 2 weeks, 10 days, I think would be good to do some promotion at the state, national level, and then proceed. So that would put us about the timeline of maybe mid-September.
How about-
for interviewing and selection, so October 1st for me is a little tight.
I agree with her.
It's a little, I'm sorry, a little rushed or a little long?
Tight, a little tight, like,
A little tight.
Oh, okay.
If you wanna, cause if city's gonna take next week, for example, to start promoting it, then you give it about 2 weeks, that'll be about your 10, 15 days. So that was already gonna be the first week of September. And then by the time we start settling and reviewing applicants and then needing to interview, I'm thinking that's gonna be mid to end September, but they want somebody already in place by October 1st. So that means the person needs to submit their 2-week notice or their time to, if they're unemployed, but to come, okay, October 1st, to have them already in place, at an office, it's tight. I'm not saying it's impossible, but it's gonna be tight.
Maybe strive for November.
Okay.
can we not, well,
Strive for.
if I can bring this up, can we not do mid-October? Because what we did last time, because I was here when we selected the last chair, we changed our meeting dates. We met a lot more frequently so that, because of what happened.
But we had a whole bunch of participants, or a lot of applicants.
Yeah, I don't think we had as many
As
as
many.
Well, Myra, do you wanna make the motion?
So but the motion's gonna be to push it back.
Yeah, whatever, I think you raised some valid points. Instead of me making a motion and then screwing it all up and having to walk it backwards, we might,
And yes, attorney, I think that, yes, let's aim for the October, but we just give ourselves the balance on November 1st and be a little bit more flexible.
November 1st?
okay, November 1st.
So I make
So it's
the motion to
2 months to
have
have.
someone in place by, the goal is to have
I'm
someone.
sorry, I think Mr. Alvarez had started a motion.
No, I'll withdraw my motion.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Thank you. It's a motion to provide a recommendation on EDAC director for the top 3 candidates to proceed by November 1st. if
November
not sooner.
That's okay with you, Chief?
Yeah, I think it's workable. And if there's any delays, we can, it's advisory.
Okay, I second your motion.
So all those in favor?
Aye.
Alright,
Oh, well, sorry.
No more discussion.
And
Discussion?
discussion? No?
Obviously.
Alright. Any opposed? Motion carries. The last item, since E has already,
A and E, we didn't, we have the ambiguity of whether we had a quorum or not at the time, but just so our record is clear, my motion with regard to agenda items A and E, are to, table them.
okay, so I'll second that. Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. So moving to the last item, oh no, not the last item, okay. So moving to F, discussion and possible action to hire a consultant on an emergency basis to assist the city of Laredo with a contingency plan for multiple water sources, including but not limited to capturing the city's effluent, drilling multiple wells for fresh water, desalination of brackish water consistent with most water wells within the area, and according with the county UISD, for the construction of a pipeline for access to the Carrizo Wilcox aquifer waters in their possession, and any matters incident thereto in order to sustain the economic viability of the port. And this was a item by George Alco, if you'd like to take that over.
So, and this is kind of dovetails on some of the conversations that, I've had with staff and with some of my former colleagues and with the county judge, and just kind of in general, brainstorming, about, what's the plan? I know most of you all already can appreciate the gravity of the situation. About 155 miles from our doorstep, 5.5 million people in Monterrey are currently out of water for all practical purposes. And if you, I think the Falcon Reservoir, to put it in perspective, is at about 10% capacity. And Arturo, you were telling me,
The Presa Amistad is at 22%.
is it 20? And you're normally at 20.
It's at 30. Amistad.
At 30, sure? Yes.
So we can split hairs, but at 25%, everybody downrange of downriver from Amistad is supposed to start going into stage 5 water restrictions, and then on down, right? The water becomes really, really tight, and so whether we're there or not, we're on the edge of there. And to put it in perspective, the drought, I think we've received 5.5 inches of rainfall to date for the year. And we haven't been in that neck of the woods, at least by historical record and fossil record. Otherwise, I'm using that term very loosely, but it sounds like we're in a 1,200-year drought. We're in the most severe drought we've been in the last 1,200 years. Like, it's very, very, very serious. And as you all know, without water, that's a utilities department issue, or so without water, there's no port, there's no economic activity. We pack up and we move somewhere else. I mean, that's what you do. That's what the nomads do. You then become your investments and your home, your businesses, your careers, your kids' educations. Excuse the pun, it all dries up, and you got to move to some other watershed where there's water. So, and historically, these same issues have been brought up before council, years and years and years ago, to again put the gravity of the situation in perspective. The voters back in the day actually approved a bond, and Chief, correct me here, to find a secondary water source. In the infinite wisdom of the council at that time, they built the Pico water treatment plant, which was a second plant on the same water source. It's a half-baked plan. And so we don't have an emergency water source. In 1957, if I'm not mistaken, we were in a massive drought. The river actually, may have been 52, actually went dry. And thankfully, we had Lake Casablanca as our emergency water source. And there was, trucks filling up full of water. Back then we had the base, and so they were processing water and getting it delivered to homes, much in what we're seeing like in Monterrey, right? Well, I don't know if y'all been out to Lake Casablanca lately, but that's not an option. So then, what have other cities done in a similar situation? Well, the city of San Angelo, I want to say this was like circa 2017, in the throes of a major drought, its sole water source, Lake San Angelo, went dry. And so what they did is they captured their sewage effluent, which, TCEQ doesn't just let you dump, the water back into the river. You have to clean it up substantially. And so they took that clean water, refiltered it again, and chlorinated it, oxygenated, all the stuff that they, that municipalities are supposed to do, and recirculated that back. They had like a circuit. Obviously, you're going to lose a lot to evaporation. You're going to lose a lot to an aging, leaky, city distribution network. But it was a good Band-Aid until the rains came, and their city didn't dry up and die away. Here in Laredo, we have a lot of brackish water. That's like not quite salt water, not quite fresh water. It's water with a saline content underneath our feet. The Walker Ranch, about 30 miles from us, 40 miles. One with all the windmills. You see it when you're landing. Okay. One of the Walkers, Rick Walker, the guy that flies the helicopter, once gave me a tour of his ranch, and via helicopter, and he showed me their industrial reverse osmosis treatment plant that took that brackish water, turned it into sweet water, and then distributed it out over 30,000 plus acres through gravity and a series of pumps. They did that with not a whole bunch of money, considerable investment, but not certainly not $100 million Pico water treatment plant, but with considerable investment, they're able to do that at that scale. You can do that at a similar scale, or you can even desalinate water at a large scale as well. You're going to need a place to put the brine that's left over, right? It's really concentrated, not good, salty water. You're going to need some place other than the Rio Grande to do that. You can use injection wells. You can use Lake Casablanca, which is a big dry patch, and you can run that through a series of wetlands so that the good water gets there and all the salt stuff stays behind in a series of so it's doable. Remember, the county owns a bunch of land in like northwestern Webb County. They own the surface. The minerals are deeded to United Independent School District and LISD School District. So if they find natural gas, or they find, in this case, water, which they have found, a lot of water that can be pumped up in serious volumes, not enough to satisfy 300,000 people, but when combined with recirculating effluent, brackish water, and desalinizing water, in combination with the UISD, LISD water, we got a shot at this. And by the way, what was it? There's an old saying, I think it's in the Bible, like don't just pray for rain, dig a well, is how the passage goes. And so we're either gonna get serious about this right now, but we're gonna have, or we can just keep praying for rain. But I'm telling you, if you look at the climate models, it's not like it's gonna get better.
No.
And so we got to do something about it yesterday. It's either that or we'll pack it up and move away. And so I bring this to y'all's attention so that the conversation can get going. And I know that you're a certified in emergency management. You've got those credentials. Emergencies take different shapes and sizes, and a lot of emergency handling management is trying to prevent the emergency to begin with, right? And to the extent that you can, Chief, go back to your fearless leaders and press upon them the need to come up with some plan. And so I figured us as a committee, let's have this conversation. I mean, I'd love to hear y'all's thoughts. And when we're done, kicking this thing around, let's see if we can't have some sort of a recommendation to take to council. But those are my thoughts.
I'm happy that you bring this into the table, George. I've been in already 2 conversations regarding this matter with the Rio Grande Study Center, and they have this expert water management, and his name is Bob Silverman. He's been suggesting measures. Rio Grande Study Center has already advised on long-term, short-term measures. They say that if it doesn't rain in 75 days, it's gonna be really bad, okay? So I think council meeting is gonna have it on the agenda already. So, I'm very sure if the community, everybody needs to be aware of this, and I'm all for your motion of having a consultant to really give us some advice.
Let me expand. We do have a consultant that the city already has on board doing a lot of work in the background. They're presenting to council on the first meeting in September, and it involves everything you.
Okay.
So I just ask for a little patience and just keep your eyes open to see what's forming up, because this has been going on, the master plan, secondary water source type of discussions and stuff like that.
And there's other options, I'm sure. I didn't include them, but a little bit of comic relief, forgive me. But remember when Louis Bruning and
Cloud seeding.
Raul Caso had that famous meeting with some witch doctor in Mexico City to seed the clouds and make it rain?
I'm sorry, that's real?
That's not myth.
No, it happened.
That happened, yeah.
Did it work?
No.
If it worked,
Yeah, it worked, well, it was great.
But we gotta be careful how you convey the message to the city, because we'll run out of water, just drinking water and all the storage, everybody starts buying everything like crazy.
Right now, if you go, there's a limit of 2.
I have an unpopular question, because I know it's been something that it's become a politicized thing, but knowing all these issues with water, is the city still planning on moving forward with a water park?
With what? With the water.
Chief, you don't have to respond to that. Turn off the mics. We need to go back let's go into the closet.
No, it's a legitimate concern.
Well, the
because
irony
it's-
that we have parked all these monies for building a water park and a soccer, football, baseball complex. We have all this money for all this stuff, and I get it, sports venue, blah, blah, blah. But that we haven't.
Well, I don't think there's a problem with any of that, as long as it's planned according to where we see our water going.
Yeah.
And if it's not gonna meet there, then I think our primary goal should be, how do we increase that water so that we can have those things,
Having the plans is good. Initiating them is separate. So maybe at the time when there will be, when the water comes back, you can look at
Alright.
really breaking ground. But right now, it's all in the planning stages, architecture, design. But yes,
And what do we prefer?
It's still
To
moving
boil
forward.
water or not have water at all?
that's one of the
Yeah.
discussions. That's one of the
Yes.
discussions, that if we're forced to go into these restrictions, what type of impact will we have? And it's gonna go to boil water notice, not for the north,
No,
but for the south.
yes.
Is there a reason the north is not having the problem that the south is?
It's off a different plant. It
Oh,
has-
so it's a plant problem.
Well, it's a distribution problem. The distribution lines, they're not looped in a lot of areas, so there's a lot of dead end hydrants. And that's what
Now I
creates.
understand.
So
Yeah.
that's why the grid system is so important
Correct.
and that's in the planning.
So what happened,
That's why we need to update our codes.
So
We
when-
shouldn't allow them to be
so
built.
when I became fire chief, I would force developments to loop. But there's other developments that were already there before that were not looped.
Yeah, they just cap it.
Yeah,
then
and
that
they would
water goes
rather
back.
cap it than spend more money in piping, you know?
Mhm.
It's actually a Stephen King quote. Pray for rain, all you
Oh,
like,
that's very ominous.
but dig a well.
He said it was the Bible.
Well, there's a similar quote.
This guy.
The Lord,
Stephen King to the
well,
Bible.
what he's trying to say is the Lord wants to help us, but we gotta help ourselves.
Yeah, the Lord says to dig holes in the valley. The Lord says you won't see wind or rain, but the valley will be filled with water. That's 2 Kings 3:16-19. So
It's gonna be a
It's
motion.
just a
Yeah, George.
That was good though.
So we have a motion?
George, would you like, they're working on it, but do you want, because
So-
we are the advisory committee,
yeah,
for them to have us
I guess Chief,
supporting them.
I'd like it, or I would like us, fellow committee members, to I guess really just have the chief say, hey, we met, we talked about this, we recognize the peril to not only the economy, but to these very vulnerable sections of our population, and that we support them and encourage them to, move with haste to find multiple alternatives, including but not limited to these that are here on this item. So that's my motion, in not so many words, just to,
I'll second it.
I like it.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Chief, is that something that can be built into the hazard mitigation plan when we update it?
Yeah. And there's hazard mitigation grants that can help us.
That would help us fund that, right?
Yep. Secondary water source.
Right on.
Okay, so on the presentation items, I don't think we have an update on the EDAC first subcommittee regarding status on creation of new.
Oh, I'm sorry, on F, real quick, I have a secondary motion, and I'll defer to you, Chief, whether you wanna do this or not, but, my motion would look like, if you're willing to do this, would be to, respectfully request that the city reach out to the county
We're doing
and,
that.
and the school districts with regard to water.
We're doing that.
Okay, you're already on it, alright, cool, alright, never mind,
Fire chief Hurd is on it.
okay, great.
And as a matter of fact, I think we have a stakeholder meeting tomorrow, right?
There will be one.
Yeah.
Good.
So no motion?
No, I don't think I need a
We're doing
motion.
it.
You're right.
Okay.
They're working on it.
So on the presentation items, A, update from EDAC first subcommittee regarding status of creation of new proposed TERS policy for the city of Laredo and any other matters incident here too. I don't think we have an update, Arnold, right? We were trying to meet, but you
Yeah.
couldn't meet that day?
Yeah, so we just need to reconvene the subcommittee so we can get back on track with the items to present that we'll include in the RFQ.
Okay. So moving to item B, update from EDAC NEZ Subcommittee regarding the status of the news proposed changes and amendments to the current City of Laredo NEZ policy and any other matters incident here too. The EDAC NEZ Subcommittee hasn't met either, so we need to make sure both those committees meet so we can just get those kicked out.
If anyone is leading both of the particular subcommittees, just let us know when you're planning to meet, just so that we can.
So Rafa was a part of B, so
Okay.
I'm not sure if someone would like to take his place. Anyone? May I ask if anyone is, I think that one's supposed to be, so the Economic Development Advisory Committee for the NEZ was Arturo, Rafa, me, and was it John?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
I don't think John Villarreal was part of the,
Who was the four? Did we not have four? We just had three?
no, there must have been someone else.
We'll get the members. I remember the TERS subcommittee because I was in that meeting, but
Yeah,
the
I am the
NEZ one,
first.
I've never.
Can you do me a big favor, set another reminder?
Yes.
Yeah.
You said, we can do that over Zoom, so it should be easy for everyone to meet at a time.
Okay.
Just send out your schedule and ask us to reply so we can,
You got it?
Yeah.
and then, I just don't know who, if you can see who's part of the EDAC,
Yeah.
NEZ
And
subcommittee.
Patty's working on that too, to bring
Okay.
back any subcommittee that might be open
Okay,
and get who's on it.
yeah,
Yeah.
so we can keep moving on that, so unless anything else would like to be discussed on that, I'm so moved to adjourn.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
So to answer
Thank
your
you, everybody.
Thank you.
question, Councilman,